Well, here we go, people. I know it's going to be bad when somebody thinks that going after someone of the caliber of educator as Troy, rather than the low-hanging fruits, people that genuinely are attempting to rip people off, you know that it's going to be a whole different class of stupid. I've not actually watched this yet, but it's been sent my way by a few people, so we're going to put it on and we're going to see what happens, and I'm going to respond.
But there is going to be some play in a few minutes, and I'm going to crack the motherfucking code.
We'll see if anyone cares.
Stand by. I've been asked a lot about Troy Grady over the past couple of years, what I think about him, what I think about his instructional material, really, not his guitar playing. He seems to be a pretty fine rock guitar player to me. Seems very technically adept, can cover a wide variety of styles. I don't have a problem with Troy Grady's guitar playing. But let me also say that
I don't know where this is going. I mean, I can imagine, but we'll see.
I have had some prior interaction with Troy Grady via the internet. All right.
Disclosure is always a good thing when you're going to speak about someone, and I can say that I have not had any prior communications with this chap, any reasons to think positively or negatively about him. As I say, this was just something that I've been sent, so I'm just responding based on what I'm told, and if everything's cool, then it will be left as everything being cool. If there are logical fallacies, if there are weak arguments, we'll pull them apart.
Right. Way back in the MySpace days, who remembers MySpace? If you raise your hand if you remember MySpace. Does anybody remember MySpace? It's okay, don't be shy. Show your age, raise your hand. For the people that know what
I'd love to make a point on this, but I reckon I'll be able to make this point a little bit better later, so we'll leave it.
MySpace is, yeah. For the younger folks that don't know what MySpace is, it was kind of like Facebook before Facebook. Walter, you still use MySpace? Hell yeah. It was like Facebook before Facebook, okay? Before Mark Zuckerberg took over the planet with Facebook, okay? Oddly enough, MySpace became just like flooded with constant ban shit. Kind of similar to Facebook, which...
I mean, my theory with MySpace is that's why MySpace died, because bands would add you and send you to shows, and it's why when this is massively off topic, of course, but when Facebook started to limit the reach that bands could have to people, despite the fact that I'm in a band and I have my own stuff that I need to market, bands and people in my positions would get up in arms about it. But it's a smart move, not just because it gives Facebook the opportunity to market and make money from bands or people that are trying to sell a product, but it protects the users from spam. It protects users from constantly being bombarded by shit they don't really want to see. And also, someone like myself who's willing to invest in my business, it makes it easier for me to cut above the shit, because I'm willing to advertise my business. Anyway, besides the point.
We're adding to here, really, I guess. But anyway, on Facebook, on MySpace, I came across Troy Grady. This is probably sometime in the late 90s or something, okay? And he, at the time, was working on the cracking the code thing already, I'm showing my age here by talking about MySpace in the late 90s, but in the late 90s, he was already working on cracking the code, okay? And originally, it was just going to, from what I understood, it was just going to be a movie, like a 2-hour movie, and it was supposed to be about picking, And I had some interaction with him on MySpace. We shot a few messages back and forth. He didn't seem like a really, how can I say it? It wasn't that he was mean. I wouldn't say he was a mean person. He was just very kind of standoffish, and not super personable. if you understand what I'm saying.
Personal anecdotes can often colour an argument. Not a good thing, because you've essentially disclosed the deal here that on a personal level you don't like Troy on a personal level. You've not managed to become close friends with Troy on a personal level, and unfortunately in a situation like this your anecdote is worth shit, because I can equally throw out an anecdote of how personable Troy Grady has been in my correspondence with Troy. I got to know Troy after the MySpace days, a long time after the MySpace days. It was initially to have him run a feature on the work that he'd been doing for education, and we did that, and then from that I've kept close-ish, keep up to date with what Troy's doing. And when I was over in New York last, he was good enough to take me out for some food, and got to meet him in person and shoot the breeze, as I believe you Yanks would say. Yes, so again, my personal anecdote, you might look at that and go, well, disclosure, you have a bias towards Troy, but we'll let you decide on that one ultimately. I'm just making the point that anecdotal evidence isn't really relevant in a logical argument. But
so anyway, so we fast forward to the present, where he has flooded YouTube with a cornucopia of guitar instructional materials.
Flooded. Interesting adjective there. Flooded. I mean, compared to the likes of Rob Chapman or Tom Hess, or again, all of this low-hanging fruit, flooded. I don't really know how to respond
aimed
to that.
At the curious musician, where he dissects a multitude of guitar players' picking techniques. Everybody from Yngwie to Eric Johnson to Michelangelo to bluegrass players. The list goes on and on. But originally he launched it with Yngwie, right? It was around this time that I had a friend of mine that signed up.
That's not strictly true. He didn't launch anything with Yngwie. The first Cracking the Code, and this kind of demonstrates your lack of actual time to research the material. The first ever episode of Cracking the Code talks about his old sequencer and how he would use that to sequence ideas, and it actually focuses more on Eddie Van Halen more so than anyone else. That's the point. It talks about you're either an Eddie guy or you're a Randy guy. So the first actual release had nothing to do with Malmsteen. At the very end of episode 1, he introduces Malmsteen's Now Your Ships Are Burned from hearing it on the radio, and well, again, shows that I've taken the time to research the subject. There was some stuff before that that surfaced online, which was picking hand camera footage of guys like Marshall Harrison or Frank Gambale that were teasing the idea of cracking the code. So even if you were going to take that as being the first cracking the code stuff, that also wasn't anything to do with Yngwie. In fact, he's never put a camera on Yngwie. While he does discuss Yngwie's techniques, maybe what you're talking about here is your first exposure to him on YouTube, where he might talk about Malmsteen's Descending Force. Maybe. Just throwing that out there.
For some of Grady's stuff. So he's got like his YouTube videos, right? And then he has like his subscription service. And so I had a friend who actually signed up in the...
Again, what you're demonstrating here is your lack of full understanding of the timeline of things. When Cracking the Code originally launched, it was not a subscription service. In fact, Cracking the Code isn't a subscription service. Troy has a subscription service, and it's called Masters in Mechanics, not Cracking the Code. The original plan was that season 1 of Cracking the Code was free to watch, though you could pay a small fee, which I believe was $5. to get the episodes early. And then, if you wanted to, you could pre-order season 2. Now, the pre-order numbers weren't great for season 2, not where they should have been. And through talking to Troy, my reasoning for that, my explanation for that, was that he hadn't managed to reach enough people for them to know about what he was getting onto, which is where the YouTube thing comes about. The subscription thing came a lot later. So again, you know, bit of research.
Few first days of it, right? Signed up for the subscription service, and he gave me his password, and he wanted me to watch the material to see what
Okay, so your friend's a scumbag.
I thought about it. So I watched the YouTube videos, and I watched what was...
Oh, sorry, further disclosure. I am not a member of Troy Grady's Masters in Mechanics, though I did, as I say, purchase season 1 of Cracking the Code, which I thought was a thoroughly excellent watch. 8 episodes, really enjoyed it. And I did pre-order season 2 of Cracking the Code. But I am not a follower of the Masters in Mechanics thing, only because I don't have the time to devote to that sort of practice, and also that aspect of guitar practice doesn't really interest me.
Was available to subscribers at the time. Now, this was 2 years ago. I'm sure Grady's got tons of other crap up there now. So I'm not trying to say that I'm completely, totally familiar with everything the man has done, okay?
We've demonstrated that you're not actually really familiar with any of it,
but I did watch. Brother Patrick has joined. Thank you, Brother Patrick, for joining us. We're talking about Cracking the Code. So I had some contact with Troy Grady back in the MySpace days. Wasn't that personable of a dude. He told me about...
I don't see how that's relevant, but...
what he was doing, though. And the shit didn't come out for like 10 years or 15 years or whatever, you know. And he found...
It's amazing that can be held against someone. Like when somebody wants to put proper content together of high quality... that you hold it against them. It took 10 years. Yes, because the man fucking researched everything properly. The amount of research is absolutely astounding. The amount of time that goes... I mean, you'll know better than anyone because you're just doing a live stream on Facebook, and I've done many myself. No time goes into that. No time goes into what I'm doing now. I'm just live responding to you. I'm just using streaming software to capture it. But Troy's... writing a script for a video takes a long time. Writing, animating, animations and things like that. Syncing of animations to the script. Syncing music to a script. Making sure that you've got an overarching plan for absolutely everything that's in an entire series, not just an episode. So everything ties together nicely. Also, let's not forget that everything that he started on 10 years ago, he essentially threw out when he invented the magnet and the for the iPhone to mount it. So
finally puts it out. He floods YouTube with,
again, floods
with it, and then you got to subscribe to get more, of course, right?
Yes, welcome to business. If you watch any music that an artist puts on YouTube, generally speaking, not all the time, but 99% of the time, that's so they can market to you.
And you got to subscribe to get more info.
No subscribe, but...
I don't necessarily have a problem with... sorry about that. I don't necessarily have a problem with the information.
That wasn't me, that was a skip in the video.
But I'm going to crack the fucking code right now for you, okay? And show you... before I say this, before I crack the code, what I'm going to tell you is, if you desire to play like Yngwie Malmsteen, if that's your thing, if that's what you want to do, and your life's goal on this thing is to play like Yngwie Malmsteen, Chris Brooks, who is this, I think he's British, English,
Australian. Obviously, researching what you talk about before you talk about it isn't your strong point.
Guitarist. He has a video instructional thing called the Yng Way. I also had a friend that let me watch this, and it...
Oh, so you don't buy anything, do you?
This is way more to the point and informative than anything that Grady.
Well, yes, of course. Troy never attempts to teach you to play like anybody. It's an explanation of what's going on. And what Chris does came after what Troy does. And again, disclosure, I know Chris. He's a good guy, and his instructional material is fantastic. You know, if you want to play like Ingve, yes, by all means go to Chris, or go to Joe Stump, or one of the many other people that have nailed the Ingve thing. But at no point is Troy saying, I can teach you to play like Ingve.
He did.
I'm sure we'll get onto that.
So, if that is your goal, I would recommend the Chris Brooks thing, the Chris Brooks route.
I would too. If you want to play like Ingve, don't buy Troy Grady stuff.
Also, Chris Brooks is...
If you want to play like Ingve, don't buy Ingve stuff.
Is just a nicer dude too. He's more.
Okay, so we're getting on to the personal things. Now, what you'll notice is Troy Grady isn't on Facebook. Cracking the Code is on Facebook, and from time to time I will make a comment on the Cracking the Code thing, and then at a later point when I send Troy an email and I've got some stuff going on with Troy, I'll mention something about Facebook, and he'll say, I've not seen it, I don't deal with our Facebook. Nothing to do with Facebook. So, okay, we get it, you like Chris, you don't
approachable.
Like Troy. It doesn't make what Troy says any less accurate. It seems to be a running theme with my stuff as well. There's plenty of people that don't like me, but generally speaking, you can not like me but also not be able to refute the points that are made.
He's a nice guy. Grady.
Chris is a nice guy, he's funny.
Not so much.
There we go, not so much. You don't like Troy.
Alright, so anyway, this is...
real mature. Yep.
In the Grady things that I've seen, this is the problem. When you first start watching it, and I can't talk about all this shit, because just the shit would just take fucking forever.
You can't talk about all the shit because you've made it clear that you've not actually observed all the shit.
Because the guy he's literally gone and interviewed like doctors and psychologists. He uses these big, huge words that you don't know what the fuck. The dude went to...
Whoa! Again, this motherfucker's actually researched the things that he's doing? What a fucking idiot.
Yale, you know, or Harvard or some shit. So he's really smart, but in a real bookish kind of way, and he doesn't, you know, he doesn't know how to present things just kind of matter-of-factly, you know. He's got to use big words, and he's got to like wow you with his Shakespearean vocabulary and shit, you know, and that's kind of.
And ironically, you could watch any one of Troy's pixelanting videos and they would be shorter, more succinct. Sorry, succinct, is that too big a word? More to the point than this 20-odd minute video.
It turns me off. It's like, Troy, just like be a fucking guy. You know, just be a guy. Like, drink.
The problem with that logic is that there have been guys since the fucking 80s. Malmsteen has an instructional video. Fucking Michelangelo has instructional videos. Who else does Troy cover that also has instructional videos? There's plenty of guys. Eric Johnson has instructional videos. Albert Lee has instructional videos. But still, fucking decades later, people feel that the code hasn't been cracked. And why is that? Well, because Malmsteen never put any fucking thought or attention into why he plays the way he does. He just fucking does it. You can't learn from someone like that. Much like a video like this.
Drink a beer.
Ultimately, you're upset with Troy. Drink a beer. Yeah.
And
does that panned out well for
fucking
you?
Just tell me, tell me what's going on. But nah, he's got.
You fucking tell me what's going on.
You know. Anyway, okay, so.
Yeah, the face palm is strong with this one.
Troy Grady stuff. He talked about Ingve, and he talked about.
Yes, in episode 2, in the initial stuff, he talked about Ingve, but then he went on to Albert Lee and Eric Johnson and Paul Gilbert, and the revelation at towards the end of season 1 was downward pixelanting.
Ingve's downward pixelanting, okay? Downward pixelanting. What the fuck is this, right?
Educate yourself.
Okay, so he tells you that Ingve...
No. Let's be very, very fucking clear about this. He does not tell you, he shows you. He doesn't suggest. That's the beauty with education and backing your shit up with evidence. He demonstrates, and I don't mean he literally picks up a guitar and shows you. He literally shows you videos of the man in question.
Holds the pick like this, okay? Like turned like this.
Which is true. Fascinating. It wasn't until I watched Troy's stuff that I'd even considered it. I'd always thought of pick angle and rotation as being on an axis perpendicular to the guitar, but there's also the angle at which the pick falls against the guitar.
With
we're not even halfway through this pile of shite.
And he tells you that the reason for this is that Yngwie's always going to leave the string on an upstroke and switch strings on a downstroke.
I mean, can you get to the fucking point here? Do you refute that? Are you saying that that is not true?
And so the upstroke frees the pick from the strings, allowing him to make the string change on a downstroke. Okay, so, and the very first thing he shows you is what he calls the Pop-Tarts lick. Now, I don't remember exactly.
That's the first thing he shows you. Do you mean that's the first thing you saw?
Exactly how this went, but I remember it was like an E.
I'm noticing a theme here. You don't remember a lot of anything, do you?
E harmonic minor thing, and it kind of went like. Something like that, you know, with even numbered string groupings. Now that's like the point. It's got to be even numbered, right? Because
that's the fascinating part about Malmsteen's playing. When you analyze it, he falls within patterns, and when his playing doesn't fit to his prescribed patterns, he will sweep across two strings.
Because so you start on a downstroke, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm gonna skip ahead
that part, right? And he basically tells you that like that's the only fucking way to play that, you know, like the only.
No. Again, Troy is not a teacher. Troy shows you what other people do. He's not saying this is the way to play this. He says this is the way that Yngwie plays this. And then the conclusion that you may draw from that is that this is the reason that Yngwie can play the way he does. And Yngwie had never considered this. It's just something that happened in his playing.
Only, you know, it was like this marvelous revelation to him that, you know, turning the pick this way and only changing the strings, only changing strings on a downstroke was some kind of marvelous revelation.
Okay, so you're suggesting that this isn't a marvelous revelation. Okay, let's talk pedagogy, the art of teaching. So if this wasn't a major revelation to you or to anyone in the guitar scene, support your point with some sources. Show me this being covered in educational material. It hasn't been done. I've read countless fucking books. Alright, let's not say it hasn't been done. I've not seen it. I've read countless books on the subject of picking and things like that because I'm a serious teacher and I'm fascinated in the ways that other teachers explain things. The concept of this angle is never taught. This angle is taught, but this angle has never been considered. So yes, revelation.
And so let's play that. Let's play this that way. 6, 7, 8. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. Alright, so that would be.
Okay, I think he's about to play it again. It's not very clean. It's also not very fast. I mean, I could play the same example and say, look, you can just play it all with upstrokes, and I could play it cleanly, but not fast. And again, that doesn't make me right or make anyone right. It just means that you've missed the point about what Troy's saying. Troy's saying the reason Malmsteen can play it the way he does, or sorry, the reason Malmsteen plays it the way he does is because of his technique. It facilitates it.
Okay, and he tells you that like that's the only way that you can play that. You know, like that's
No, he doesn't.
fucking it. Okay, and I'm here to tell you that this complete total bullshit. Okay, so now we're gonna play the same thing. We're gonna start on an upstroke. Now, what this is gonna do, starting on an upstroke, is.
I mean, I've never actually talked about this as a concept publicly, but having licks that you have to start on specific strokes, in my opinion, and that's what you're getting at here is opinion, is a bad idea. You should be able to play your ideas however needs be, because when you're actually improvising and you're playing and you go to hit a downbeat, let's say you're playing some 16th notes, you get to the end of a run, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and you've just played an upstroke. Now you want to go into that lick that you're about to play. Oh fuck, I need to go down now. Everything falls apart. Like pre-planning how you are going to play something means that you will only ever be able to use it in that specific context.
We're gonna go, but that way the pick is gonna. No, that having to move over the string was just too much of a pain in the ass for Troy, right? But here is that.
Is this some sort of joke? It's not clean. Or fast.
Okay, so it can be done, you know. It's not like it can't fucking be done. As a matter of fact, I prefer to do it that way.
I'm sure you do. I'm also waiting for you to show me Troy saying it can't be done.
It's easier for me. If I had to play that, that's how I would do it. So there, we just cracked the code. You know, the code.
What does that mean? You've not cracked anything. Do you understand what a code is and what cracking it means? It means understanding something that was cryptic. You've not understood anything that's cryptic. All you've said is, he does it this way, I do it this way. That's not cracking anything. If anything, it's adding more smoke to the situation.
Code's bullshit. At least that part of it is, you know. You can play these Ingve licks any way you want to. There's no you just have to practice.
I feel like I'm repeating myself, but yes, you can play these licks any way you want to. But Troy shows you how Malmsteen plays them.
You know, you just have to practice whatever way you want to do it, you know. Again, if you want to sound just...
And this is fascinating, actually, because really if you dig into your precious Chris Brooks, and I'm not digging at Chris because I like Chris, of course, but Chris is the same. Chris will show you how to play something, and he'll say this is the way to achieve speed when doing it. But you don't take an issue there. Well, obviously because you've not actually watched all of Chris's stuff, but because you like Chris and you don't like Troy.
Just like Ingve and do it just like him, I recommend the Chris Brooks Ingve. I think is much more concise to the point. That's pretty much all I have to say about this. I think that Troy Grady's a lot of I think, again, going back to like exactly, yes, thank you, brother. Who was that brother that just pointed that out? Brother Galen.
You like it when people agree with you, don't you? You seem excited now. What's he pointing out?
Yes, Brother Galen. You're absolutely right. And Brother Galen, that is the point of this. The point is, I just want everybody to be aware that this dude is like a lot of other people, okay? He's not new. He's a marketing genius. He's probably better at marketing than he is at playing guitar, okay? I don't know shit about marketing.
No shit. Carry on.
Okay? He's got these nice cameras and all this shit. You know, look,
that's not marketing, that's professionalism.
Recording this on an iPhone. I don't even have a microphone on the amp or anything, you know. This is totally...
Yeah, so you don't need to be an expert at marketing to understand that. You just pointed out that you know that your stuff is lackluster. It's like me now, I'm talking into a Logitech webcam. I accept that that's not as good quality as me using one of my microphones. I understand, so do you.
Like C-movie budget right here, right? Like no budget. This dude's got mega cash, it seems like. He's got an amazing budget to shoot all this HD video, and his marketing skills are just top flight. But again, as Brother Galen has pointed out in the comments,
I can't wait to smash this one.
It's a money thing. It's a money thing.
A man who has a business is out to make money. I'll alert the fucking press, shall I? The fuck is your problem? Of course it's a money thing. He's running a business. He doesn't want to end up living in his fucking parents' basement. He has fucking offices that he needs to maintain. He has equipment that needs to be paid for. He has hosting costs of his website. You create content, you pay for said content. When he flies to Germany to film stuff with DeRoche Stefan or Martin Miller or the people that are the experts in the Gypsy Sinti style, that costs money. It needs to be paid for. You don't seem to understand this as a basic concept. What Troy does is a unique product with a unique selling point pitched at a unique audience. Troy's stuff will be around long after he's gone because people are already using his terminology in education. He has contributed to education because his material is completely original and there's no subjectivity to it. It's all objective, observable. He's demonstrating things not just by saying, look, I can do something. It's, look, this guy does this. Now, he doesn't really explain it in full detail, but this is the pattern that you'll see again and again in his playing. And when I do this, it enables me to do this. You should try this. That's how education works. He has a unique product. He's not just trying to resell the same old shit that everybody has taught. If you want that, I can turn the cameras around and I've got fucking Jimmy Bruno and Danny Gatton and Brent Mason and Joe Pass and Eric Johnson and fucking Paul Jackson Jr. and Scotty Anderson, Emily Remler, Pat Martino, Carver Hay and Scott Henderson, Don Mock, Robin Ford, Michael Lee Firkins, Buster B. Jones, Mike Stern, Daryl Gable, Frank Gambale. Like, the list is fucking endless. There's endless instructional things out there. But there's still a market for more because nobody has done anything comprehensive and people like to learn. So understanding, like, I've not fully dug into Troy stuff, but understanding like the way the muscles work and ulnar rotation and deviation and things like that. This is, if you were trying to run, if you were an Olympic sprinter, you would learn about this. In sports science, you learn and understand how these things work. You learn about aerodynamics. You learn about the positions that you need to be when you're running in order to have the air pass over you in the most efficient way. Now, I don't rate what Troy does in terms of musical content because it's not about musicality. It's about helping you achieve a very specific goal, which is speed, something that I'm not all that into myself. But if that's something that you're going to do, you will hit walls, and Troy's material will help you understand why you're hitting a wall and how you can self-fix that issue.
Okay, the Brooks deal, the Ingwe, the Brooks instructional thing is a lot less expensive and has a lot more information in it if that's your goals, to play like Ingwe. What Grady tries to do is, with the YouTube videos, he tries to kind of suck you into subscribing to the website. Again, we've talked about this in previous videos. In my last video, which was watched by 1,000 people, and I thank you so much for.
Again, not a marketing genius, as you've pointed out. This video at this stage has 518 views. That doesn't mean that 518 people have watched it. What that means is that it's auto-played for 518 people. As long as the video plays for 3 seconds, Facebook counts that as a view. So when you're just scrolling through your news feed and you go past the video slowly and it plays for a couple of seconds, that's counted as a view. You can actually go into your analytics and look at the stats for this, and you can see how many people watched it for more than 20 seconds. You can see how long the average view was. And I know based on my own streams that those numbers are actually always a hell of a lot lower, and actually pretty humbling.
I really didn't think that many people would fucking watch that. An hour of me just kind of jerking around playing guitar and talking shit, and 1,000 people watched it. I was totally blown away. So thank all you guys so much for that. That's amazing.
Like, I've been going for over half an hour at this point. I've responded to points, I've refuted your ideas, and I've boiled it down to the fact that you're not fully researched on the subject, don't really know what you're talking about, but unfortunately you have a personal issue with Troy, and you like Chris, and that shaped everything. Just purely this idea that Troy is trying to teach you to play like Malmsteen, and Chris is trying to teach you to play like Malmsteen, and therefore Chris is better, has shown that you have not researched the subject that you're arguing, because Troy is not trying to teach you to play like Malmsteen. Simple as that. Troy is an educator of the highest order, trying to expand upon the works of others in a relatively new field in education. There is no question about this. The Berkeleys, the GITs, the ICMPs, the musics, the Atlanta Institute of Music, 5, 10, 15, for years and years to come, Troy will be referenced as a very important figure in education, because he's covered things that nobody else has covered. Look, I get what you're trying to do here. You're trying to be the noble man. You're trying to go out and save people from spending money that they don't need to spend. And that's the beauty of Troy stuff. You don't need to spend money on it. It's all out there. If you're serious about education, maybe check some of it out. Maybe don't check some of it out. You're not checking shit out. You're stealing it. You're taking passwords from people and just watching it. If you're serious about education, then do that. I get what you're doing though. You're, like I say, you're just trying to help people. But if that's what you're trying to do, then go after the Tommaso Zilla? Completely fucking irrelevant. The Tom Hesses of the world. All of these what I call 100% money back guarantee websites that aren't selling you really anything. They're putting a marketing pitch at you and promising you something that they can't deliver. Your efforts would be better used in areas like that, because if you continue down this path, what you do is you irk and draw the ire of people that you either see as your peers or people that you want to be your peers. And that's not a good way to do things, because anybody that's serious about education will tell you that what Troy does is great, and it's not it's not because he's right, but it's because he's trying. That's what education is. Exploration. That's what science is. It's about experimentation and then showing the world your findings, and then people will build on the stuff that Troy has done. You can't say a bad word about what he's doing, because he's doing considerably more than you are doing. Change your ways, my friend. I've been Levi Clay. If you have enjoyed this video, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can head on over to my Patreon and support me over there, and maybe I will do more videos like this. Send me questions, like, comment, subscribe, all of that bullshit. And I will be here for a long time to come. Peace out, motherfuckers. Bye.